So Poshmark just announced a very big change and people are having lots of thoughts about it. So I figured we could kind of chat about what's happening, what the change is, pros, cons of it, and just give you my thoughts on it. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Catherine. I'm a beauty and reselling enthusiast, and those are the things that I love to talk about on this channel if that is something that you like to watch. Today's video is going to be discussing the new big Poshmark change, and yeah, there's been a lot of talk in the corridors, the metaphorical corridors, that is social media, of people really not liking it, people really loving it. So I figured we could just kind of have this discussion and chat more about it and like kind of see where we fall. So let me scooch over and I am gonna include some screenshots of stuff. So basically what is happening is Poshmark is changing the way that they are doing shipping, more in particular the shipping cost and how it is going to be shipped. So I've been on Poshmark since 2013, and they have always allotted for priority shipping at a fixed rate. So, and that rate has like consistently gone up as all shipping rates have gone up and increased throughout the time. As of currently, where are we sitting? It is $8.27 to send a package up to 5 pounds, and that can include anywhere in the US. So they had always contracted out with USPS to make this shipping rate, which, to be fair, I mean, I don't want to pay over $8 to ship something that's super tiny, but that is a really good rate for if you're buying a huge bundle up to 5 pounds. So there were pros and there were cons of that shipping rate too, and people were always aghast whenever that price increased, which I think is just an unfortunate thing. I mean, prices are increasing, so is shipping, so it's just, unfortunately, the to be a player in this game, that is one of the rules that you have to abide by. So like I said, this is that was a pretty good deal for heavier items, bundles, but not so great for smaller items. So now the big change is, after all of this time, they have finally negotiated a price for a flat fee rate for Ground Advantage shipping. So the change is that now we are going from $8.27 for priority shipping now to $6.49 for Ground Advantage. It's still a flat fee, so you know, for up to 5 pounds it is still a flat fee, which I think is pretty great, to be honest. But people are having their thoughts. So let's go more into like when this is happening, and then we'll go into the pros and cons. So this change is going to affect September 12th, which I am filming this on the 9th. Hopefully I can get this up pretty quickly. So it's changing in just a few days. And they did talk about that you can use priority boxes, looking at my notes, using them pretty much up until October 11th without being penalized. So once it hits October 12th, they're basically saying that if you still use a priority box, that you're gonna have a $5 USPS fee. I don't know who is enforcing that fee. Is it Poshmark that's going to enforce it? I'm assuming it's USPS. If they notice that you have a priority, they're gonna like charge you. I don't know how they're gonna charge you. So yeah, that's still a little bit, we won't know until the time has come. So if you do have a lot, which was one of the things that we'll talk about, a lot of people have a lot of free shipping supplies from USPS from them being priority, and they were talking about how they have an abundance of those products and now we won't be able to use them anymore. But it kind of seems like you can use them until October 11th, but you know, buyer, or I should say seller beware in this case of how comfortable you feel doing that. Again, I don't know when USPS or how that's going to be enforced, but apparently it will. The other thing that they're telling us is that which was the big draw for priority, is, like I said, you get free shipping supplies. Now they're telling us that we can still order free Ground Advantage shipping supplies by calling this number and giving them our Poshmark closet and information. I did look online. There are no Ground Advantage particular boxes when you are ordering shipping supplies through USPS. But they are saying, call this number, talk to these people, they will send you the boxes. Again, we'll get a little bit further into that in a minute. So let's get into the pros and cons of this change. So some of the pros is that this is a cheaper rate. That's wonderful. Hopefully that will encourage people to buy more. And again, this is up to £5. So, you know, that bundle that would have cost you $8.27 to purchase up to £5 is now $6.49 for £5. That also means the smaller items, more singular items that you hate paying $8.27 for, because you're like, this is half a pound, I don't want to pay $8.27 for it, is now $6.49. Psychologically, that might change some things for you, and hopefully that will increase people's willingness to buy, which in the end, you know, as a reseller who does this for part-time work, you know, will hopefully increase profits. We love that. And then some pros is, supposedly we're getting free shipping supplies. And we'll talk more about that in the cons, but supposedly we're getting free shipping supplies. So if that is the case, if we are able to do that, I think that this is a great move. You know, it's lower shipping costs and we still get shipping supplies. Great. But let's talk about the cons. So although the shipping rate is cheaper, it's not like dramatically cheaper. It's $1.78 cheaper. And to some people that can be a lot. Some people that maybe that's not so much. So, you know, maybe there is that psychological difference that, okay, that's almost $2 cheaper. I'm willing to pay, you know, I'm willing to not pay $2 to actually make a sale compared to if it was over $8. Like, I'm not going to make a purchase because of the $8 shipping. So only time will tell with that. So another con is that Ground Advantage is actually a slower processing service compared to Priority. So Priority Mail, like I don't know if I want to call it a guarantee, but like their promise is that it was supposed to get to the buyer within 1 to 3 business days. Now, what was nice about that is that, you know, sellers if they can get their items out pretty quickly, it would get to the buyer in 1 to 3 business days, and then the buyer would accept the product and funds would be released sooner. Ground Advantage is a little bit different. So their promise is 2 to 5 business days. So it is a little bit of a slower, you know, shipping time, but that kind of has like some snowball effects that if it's slower, then the people who are selling the items might have to wait longer to get their payments out, all that sort of deal. This also a thought process that hit me, and I think I saw in some of the feedback on this post from Poshmark, is that this may impact people's ratings of the sellers. You know, some buyers don't really have the concept that we as sellers don't dictate how fast an item gets sold, right? Especially when you only get one option for the shipping. You know, some other platforms offer different options. Poshmark only offers one option, and that's what you have to go by. So that could impact ratings of sellers. Again, ratings, I very rarely will look at ratings of sellers. Sometimes I do, like if they don't have a lot of items, or if they're a newer person, or they just haven't been on the app as much, I might look at the ratings, but you know, for the most part, I don't. And so that's something that you have to decide. Like, do you look at ratings of sellers? Is that a big difference for you if you purchase or you don't purchase? So that's something that you do have to think about, because some people equate slower shipping to a lower rating, even though sometimes we have not sometimes, most of the time we have nothing to do with it. So keep that in mind. So going back to these free boxes, The really nice thing about priority shipping is that we had access to free shipping supplies. I know that there's a lot of people out there that still purchased shipping supplies like cute poly mailers, boxes that had a little bit more branding for their particular brand and stuff like that. I was never that person. I always loved getting free shipping supplies from the post office, and then would save, you know, boxes for other items or things that didn't fit in that. So now that they're saying, oh, well, you can get free Ground Advantage shipping supplies, there have been many people who are posting that when they call this number, it gets disconnected. When they do connect with somebody, those people have no idea what they're talking about. So this is a little bit unnerving, because now it's like, I think in my head, okay, well, if I have to pay for shipping supplies, which let's be clear, if I wasn't a box hoarder before, I'm certainly going to be a box hoarder now, because I'm not paying for shipping supplies. I won't do it. I'm a small business, you know, I do this part-time, and those shipping supplies do eat into the profits. Some people are totally okay with that. Me, not so much. I don't want to have to pay for something that's literally probably going to be thrown away. Most people are not going to reuse it. So I don't want to have to pay for it. Now, there are a few select people, and I will post it over here, that have successfully ordered these boxes. And again, this is a new change. You know, you're not only talking about the Poshmark company, but you're also talking about USPS, which, let's be honest, haven't been super together all of the time. We're not all on the same page all at the same time. So it might take a little while for this information to be disseminated to all of its employees. So we can only hope that as time goes on, that this will be true, that we can call, we can give our Poshmark name, and we can get our free shipping supplies. So that's what I'm hoping. So now I wanted to see what this shipping difference looks like in action in comparison to some of the other platforms that I sell on. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this item over here that I recently just relisted. It's a cabbie dress, and it weighs approximately 1.5 pounds, and that includes the weight of the item and the anticipated shipping supplies, which might change a little bit in how I calculate the anticipation shipping supplies, because normally I would include like a poly mailer if it's one item, or if it's like a bigger shoes, you know, like a box is going to weigh more than like a poly mailer and stuff like that. So keep that in mind too. But 1.5 all in. So with Poshmark, with this change, it's going to be $6.49, and I should say we're just going to talk about it like it's a single item sale, not a bundle. So with Poshmark, it's going to be $6.49 no matter where it goes, up to 5 pounds. Beforehand, for priority, it was $8.47. Now, if we were to see the same item on eBay sale, if you were to do Ground Advantage for eBay, that price is $4.49 to $5.20, and that is if you purchase the label through eBay. It's going to be a little bit higher if you don't do that discounted eBay rate, and they have up to 70 pounds max with insurance up to $100. Now, if it were to go priority on eBay, which typically I do priority shipping on eBay, again, because the shipping supplies are free, and that's typically how I do it, it would be anywhere from $6.87 upwards to $25.97, again with that discounted rate, and just depending on where it's going. So it has a little bit more variability depending on where you're shipping it from and where it's going, as well as to what options that you choose of how you want to ship it. Now, if we were to go to Mercari, this same item would sell for $11.99 for Ground Advantage. That would be the shipping rate. And it would be $14.99 for priority. But Mercari has other options as well. If I remember correctly, they have like USPS, or sorry, we already talked about USPS. They have UPS, they have FedEx, and they have a few options like in between. And none of those options, I don't believe, were as low as the new shipping rate for Poshmark. I think like the lowest one was in the $8 range. So now we go to Depop. If I were to sell this item on Depop, the price would be $11.69 to sell this, or to ship this, excuse me. And I believe that Depop, and I should say that is if you choose to go through the Depop shipping, which is usually what I do. They do have the option of being able to ship it on your own, which you could go to a like discounted rate, discounted shipping place. I use Pirate Ship sometimes, and you could see what those rates are. But I do believe if you do ship through Depop, depending on where it's going and depending on how heavy the item is, it might be Ground Advantage, it might be Priority. I've never been able to kind of like figure out which one is which, but most of the time it goes through Ground Advantage. So the difference is about $5, a little over $5 difference between Poshmark and Depop for the same item, you know. And there's the difference, same difference between Mercari. eBay was actually one of the cheaper ones by about $2 to $1.50 range. So that is the comparison between all of the platforms, or kind of the most popular platforms. You know, there's other platforms like Vinted and Vistair and all that sort of stuff that have different shipping rates, but these are, I think, the most popular ones that people talk about. So now my final thoughts on this change. I will tell you, initially when I saw this and I read it, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. But this was before I got into the nitty-gritty details of everything. It's really hard to process big changes, no matter which way they lean. If it's a good change or a bad change or a neutral change, however you want to look at it, change is just hard in general, especially when you've been used to a certain way for so long. So like I said, I've been selling on Poshmark for 8 years. Oh no, more than 8 years. Oh my gosh, I've been, what did I say, 2013, 12 years. Wow, I shorted myself 4 years. I've been on Poshmark for 12 years and I've been used to one way for so long, and now it's different. And so I'm just going to have to kind of like update my thought process on it and not automatically reach for a poly mailer or a Tyvek, I should say, from Priority, and to send my item off. I'm just gonna have to be a little bit more aware and conscious of how I am shipping it and what shipping supplies that I'm saving. People kept asking for a cheaper shipping rate, and now that it has been delivered, people are upset about it. Again, going back to my first thought, people don't like change. Even if they ask for it, change is difficult to do. You know, rightfully so, they're allowed to be upset because everybody's going to run their business a little bit differently. But the thing about business is you will have to learn that you have to pivot with the times. If you don't pivot and you continue doing it the way that you're used to doing it, you might not be as successful with it. So it is something that, again, we're all going to have to update our thought process on it. If these free shipping supplies are legit and people are able to get to them, and that USPS and Poshmark can actually like get on the same page with that, I think that's going to be a game changer. I mean, that means that we're going to have a cheaper rate and we're still going to have shipping supplies. So that would be really, really, really good, and I think would be the best option overall. Again, there are going to be slower shipping times, but to be honest, priority shipping hasn't been the 1 to 3 business days that it promises or guarantees or says that it's going to be. Most of the time, I still receive things that are like later than 3 business days if I order something. And sometimes Ground Advantage can be like, I've seen it pretty fast. So I don't really take to heart the 1 to 3 now versus the 2 to 5. Like, I don't really take that into consideration a lot. Shipping has just been slower in general altogether, so we all have to get that in our mind that that's just how it's going to be, and we're going to have some forethought of if we're planning on, you know, buying something and using that something at a certain date, we are going to have to just plan for that because shipping is just slow in general. I will say there have been many people saying like, oh, well, I'm just going to continue to use my priority boxes and I'm just going to cover them up with a bag, or I'm going to turn them inside out, or I'm going to cover them up with something. please do not do that. It is illegal to do that. And I don't want you to risk yourself, your business, or anything like that just because you have some extra boxes of priority. The priority boxes, if you have them and you're not going to use them, just take them back to a store, or take them back to a USPS postal store. They will accept them. I've done that many times where I like got the wrong size box and I was never going to use that, and so I just took them to the store. Do not risk yourself for shipping. It is not worth it. So please don't do that. And I guess my last thought is just let's ride this out. You know, Poshmark has made some changes in the past that, for the good or bad, you know, the people speak whether they like it or not. And I am thinking I think it was last year at this time, or maybe it was 2 years ago. Time is a social construct at this point. They had like changed their fee structure, and it was a little bit more complicated than what it is. They changed it, and people did not like it, and they voiced their opinions of not liking it, and they pretty quickly reverted back to their old way. I think it only lasted maybe a month and a half or something like that, if I remember correctly. So they quickly reverted, and you know, not saying that they're going to revert this decision, because overall I think at this time I'm for it, just given what I've talked about. So if they revert it back, they revert it back. Nothing really changes. But let's just write it out. We won't know until we know. I'm very interested to see how this impacts sales, if this is going to encourage people to buy more online because shipping is cheaper. Although, you know, it's going to take a little bit longer. I don't know. No one knows until it actually goes into effect. So remember, this change is going to affect September 12th, which I will say is a little bit of a quick change, but you know, I'm glad that they are giving us a grace period for about a month. I don't know how much I'm going to trust that grace period, again, because it doesn't seem like Poshmark and USPS are like on the same page quite yet. So I don't want like all these $5 fees to be incurred, all this sort of stuff. So ship at your own risk with priority boxes and stuff. But those are all my thoughts about it. But now I want to hear from you. Let me know your thoughts. Do you care about this change? Is this something that you're for, something you're against? You know, let's have a respectful conversation down in the comments down below, because I'm very curious, because I am sure there are things that you have thought of that I have not thought of. So let's chat in the comments. And with that, I appreciate you watching this video and taking the time to spend with me. If you like this, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the wonderful YouTube things. And I will leave all of my makeup details down below, because again, I am a beauty enthusiast, so I want you to know what I'm wearing. I'll leave that all down in the comments, and with that, I'll see you in my next one. Bye.